let me say good afternoon, and you might say that I may be about 10 days or so late, but I think on January 9th, the Minister of Finance released some numbers for you for the executive summary, labor force executive report, based on there's some employment numbers. And on Monday, the 12th of January, and I don't know whether this was recorded on the 9th of January or not, so excuse me, but on the 12th of January, I did hear the Minister of Finance make certain comments to the media about comments that had been made by me as the President of the BIU about employment. And I don't know whether one of you asked him the question about, I had made a statement that in 2013, we lost some 1,166 jobs, and he says that Bermuda has never lost, or that's not true. My statement that I made then still holds true today, based on the numbers that are produced by the Department of Statistics, based on these reports. It says that we lost 1,166 jobs. Well, now I said, take the point, they were not all Bermudian jobs, and I never said that we lost 1,166 Bermudian jobs. What I said is we lost 1,166 jobs. So it's kind of interesting because what the minister is doing is he has taken this 2014 report. This report I believe you all have a copy of, which is the Labor Force Survey Executive Report that is done, particularly in 2014, where they surveyed some 1,500 households out of 28,818 households. And that's about 5.2%. And what I find interesting is that, we're comparing apples to oranges here. And I'll say this to the minister respectfully, we're not comparing apples to apples, because this is a snapshot, only a snapshot of any given time, whether it's any particular month, 2 months, or whatever have you. Whereas this document here is the document that the minister should be paying attention to, because these are the true employment numbers. When we look at overall employment change from year to year, these are the numbers you have to look at. So when we say in 2013 that Bermuda lost 1,166 jobs, 628 of those jobs were Bermudian jobs. 38 were spouses of Bermudians. 494 were other non-Bermudians, and the other 8 were permanent residents, to make up a total of 1,166 jobs. And that's a fact. And I don't care respectfully how the minister tries to slice it and dice it, but since 2008, when we had a workforce of 40,213, as of December 31st, 2013, the 14 numbers are not totally compiled yet as released in the document, so we've heard 511 or whatever have you. But as of December 31st, 2013, there are some 5,936 people that have lost employment out of Bermuda's workforce. Now, this is interesting because what the minister wants us to believe is that non-Bermudians shouldn't be considered in an unemployment rate. So much so that in 2013, when we were at the tripartite economic forum at Southampton Princess, made up of the governments, unions, and employers, when I made the statement about the unemployment rate, the minister said, Mr. Fabian, that's not correct because non-Bermudians are not included in the unemployment rate. And I thought then it was a bit strange, so I asked the government of statistics whether or not that's true, and he said that's not true. When we look at employment numbers, we have to look at all employment laws. And I think that this whole issue for us as an organization is that we can't have 5,900 people go out to the workforce and say, well, okay, we're only going to count the Bermudians and we're not going to count the others. And the reason why this is so important is because those 5,900 employees all contributed revenue to the Bermuda government by way of payroll tax. And I would estimate when you look at those, I think it's like 3,300 or so jobs that's lost, by non-Bermudians. We can look at somewhere between $200 to $300 million worth of loss of revenue for the government because it's all compounded, it's all accumulative because, every time a job goes this year, and let's just say we had the jobs go in 2009, if those jobs would have stayed, they'd have been paying from 9 to 14. So you have to look at the cumulative effect on that loss of revenue for the Bermuda government. That's why I say the numbers between $200 to $300 million of rough revenue that the government don't have in their coffers right now. And I can tell you they can really use that. So what I would say to the Minister of Finance, and I'm trying not to be rude, but I think the minister needs to get his head out of the sand. because he's comparing apples to oranges and not apples to apples, because this is the true report on employment when we look at the change of employment year over year. And that's what these figures are supposed to do. And anytime I have a question about the employment numbers, these are not my numbers, I pick up the phone and I call the department and ask them for clarification. And they will clarify it for me and say, no, Mr. February, that's not correct. Here's the correct answer. I don't just go out on a whim and just start speaking out from just putting things out here. That's not the way how this organization operates. So I'm offended that the Minister of Finance will get on national television, last week on the 12th of January, and say that I'm out there trying to mislead the country. I don't do them kind of things. I don't do that. I report based on the information that's given to me and based on what I see here. It's a fact. The final thing that I want to say to you is that this sheet right here goes from 1978 all the way around to 2013. And these are employment numbers where Bermuda's made up 82% of the, or 83% of the workforce in 1978, while Bermuda's made up 17% of the workforce. You wind that all the way forward to 2013, while now making up 69% of the workforce, or 71%, and the non-Bermudas are making up 29% of the workforce. So you do the maths. Any questions? Which one? This one here? This one here? Oh, this is facts and figures, from facts and figures put out by the department every year. And I have all the books. I have all of them.
You would agree with the government's basic strategy to get more people on the island to boost the economy, right?
Yes, I would. But careful how we address that, because what we want to make sure we find that balance. Find the balance is critical, because there's no point in bringing all these people here and we've got Bermudans unemployed. We need to find a balance between bringing those people here and Bermudans gainfully employed. Because as I continue to say to our members and the general public, when they say, well, let's just get rid of all the foreigners, we can't simply do that. And the reason why we can't do that, because what a lot of people don't know, is that right now when you look at the makeup, and I'll just give you this example. When you look at the makeup of the workforce, I didn't bring it in here, but I can tell you that I think I still remember it. When you look at the makeup of the workforce in international business right now, Bermudians still make up 54% of those jobs. 46% are non-Bermudians. Now, people would argue, but they're not the high-paying jobs. I understand that. But still, that's about 2,000 people that's still employed in the international business. So if you take all those people, take all those companies away and let them leave, there's 2,000 Bermudians that don't have a job. So we need to be very careful, make sure we find that balance between bringing people in and making sure Bermudians can get gainful employment in their country.
What's the most disturbing thing about the statistics?
All I would say too, I think that things are, if the number comes out to be 511, what I would say to you that's the least amount of jobs were lost since 2008, and that's a positive thing. Because, when you see you're losing, when you see that we're losing 693 jobs in 2009, 1,423 jobs in 2010, 698 jobs in 2011, 1,956 jobs in 2012, 1,166 jobs in 2013. If that number 511 is true for 2014, it's pretty good, because you cut this number in half. And we want to make sure we can stabilize it and try to grow some jobs. And the reason why I'm saying that, because the ABA promised 2,000 jobs. They're now in the country, according to what's here? Yes. Over 3,000 jobs is what they.
The actual statement that came from 2 years going and maybe 2.5 to 3 years before the enacted action.
Yeah.
2,000 jobs were promised.
Yes.
Then it came back with your statement.
Yes.
So it's still what's the numbers now? $3.
Well, the numbers that I think that are out there is, people are saying there are 4,000 Bermudians unemployed, according to what I see measured here. And I'm going to be measuring what the department has given me. When you look at the overall amount of Bermudians that are going out of the workforce from 2008, which is the number that I think everybody is referring to, we had 20,180 Bermudians in the workforce in 2008. When we wind the clock forward to 2013, it's only 24,504 Bermudians in the workforce. So that represents about 2,700 Bermudians. That's what it represents. And I think if you look at the statement the minister made the other day, I think some 2,000 people have been down to the Department of Workforce Development to report that they are unemployed. So Is there another 1,000 out there that haven't even, say, you know what, I can't be bothered because I don't think I'm going to get a job anyway, so I'm just going to leave enough to learn. These numbers, I think, are true. I think when you look at them, they represent year over year exactly what's happening to employment. And I think, to be quite honest with you, it's very concerning that, that in 2015, we're having this conversation about whether or not this really happened. This happened. The mere fact that you have friends, uncles, aunts, relatives unemployed in 2015 is a travesty. And we ain't going to talk about the issue about, what happened to Ms. Clark the other day. That's a travesty. It really is. Yes.
Does B.I.U. find any comfort in the fact that Bermuda's got the America's Cup and the sort of hotel developments that are coming around that? Do you find any comfort in that?
Well, what I would say to you is that, and it's, I think the concerns that's out there is that, the America's Cup is only going to be for the selected few. And the government and the individuals need to make sure that that doesn't happen. We do recognize that not everybody's going to benefit from the America's Cup, but I think it's up to the government to make sure that as many people as possible benefit from the America's Cup. I do think that is a positive thing for the country. I'm not trying to be all negative, right? I think that what we have to look at, there are things that we have to try to do to grow our economy. There are things that we have to get. The America's Cup, I'm not saying it's the silver bullet that we're looking for, but it's a step in the right direction. What the government does is a step in the right direction. It's entirely up to them, and it's entirely up to the rest of the country to make sure that we can move that process forward. Any other questions?
There's also a racial disparity in the unemployment stats. Does that bother you at all?
Well, I think Mr. B.I.U. Johnson, as long as I remain alive and well, we're always going to have these sort of things. It happens in Bermuda, and it happens all around the world. We need to try to fix that because it's very concerning that, if you have a conversation about it in the workplace, you could be seen as being whatever, and then you could be fired and those sort of things. And in 2015, I am certainly still concerned about, one's quality of life, particularly workers' quality of life, as the country continues to work its way out of the recession. Because this whole question of quality of life it should be very concerning to the government, and dare I say, it should be also concerning for employers. But because the thing about it is that, I have my earned income. My disposable income is being attacked every year. As a matter of fact, we have rising costs of living going up here, and my wages are at a standstill. I'm on furlough days, or I've got a layoff, or whatever have you. It should be very concerning, and the country is going to have to sit down and address that. And that's a real issue for us to address. It's very serious.